We're back with Wheels Events TV. Obviously, this is Big Mike and Mike Thies, and I have one of my favorite heroes here to talk to is Stu Serjeant from the Turkey Rod Run.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best names, by the way, of any of the events that we have. Thank you for your time. I know this is a pretty busy day for you, so
It is.
for you to take a few minutes out and
Let's
share some more stories. I'll tell you, we were before we started the video, I found out more about him and some of his early days. That's always one of my favorite questions. Is the two questions I like to do in interviews with this: what's your favorite collector car, and then what was your first car? And of course, people know me. They've heard the story so many times. My first car was a Model A. Great pickup car, by the way. And
not as good as a Metropolitan.
Not as good as a Metropolitan. What year was it?
1960 Metropolitan Coupe.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, I want to thank our cameraman here, my brother Brian, and jump in if you see something or hear something you want to add to. We're here because today is Thanksgiving.
It is.
Thanksgiving 2017. This event started on Thanksgiving in 1974, am I right?
That's correct, yes.
So tell me about that day quick.
Well, we had 45 cars, and that day happened because the previous year we went to the Antique Automobile Club car show. My son and I. AACA. They had something called the Gaslight Parade, and they also had a swap meet, a small event. We went there on Saturday night to go to the Gaslight Parade, and I had a T-bucket, a fire-breathing 289 Ford, smoke the tires type T-bucket, and my son was 4, and we went to it and got in line to pay our money to do the Gaslight Parade, and I can still remember this guy coming up to us just screaming at us, saying, "You can't be here, you're a hot rod."
Wow.
So I kind of looked around and said, "Whoa, what's up with this?"
So you're a cast out.
Yeah, I said, "Well, we're here for the parade. You're not going to be in this parade. This is for antique cars." I said, "I'm a 23 Ford." He says, "No, you're a hot rod, out." So we left, and my son, who was all excited about going there, so he started crying.
He must have been brokenhearted.
He said, "Let's have our own parade next year, Dad." And so we did, and that was the first turkey run.
Wow.
That happened in 74.
I got a little bit of history here that maybe more myth than reality, but I think there's some reality in it, is that Carlisle got started in a similar fashion.
Well, Chip Miller and I were good friends prior to his death, and he started the same way. He went to Hershey, trying to buy some Corvette parts and trying to sell some Corvette parts. And yes, they're very similar stories. We've shared those stories years ago. Yes.
Yeah, Chip talked to me a little bit about that, but it's I got to be careful because I've heard so many stories that I don't know if
I'm sure Lance would give you the same story.
They would start blending.
It's very true, yes.
Yeah, one of our associates is very close to both Hershey and Carlisle, is Pam Hirschhorn. And as an interviewer, probably one of the best I've ever worked with, that knows more about cars than any guy I know.
Wow.
Anyway, tell us a little bit about it. Where's the T-bucket?
Long gone. Oh, it didn't last long. It went away. I have no idea where it is now. I wish I did.
Yeah.
But it left, a year or so later, and I moved up to a 34 Chevrolet 2-door. That was the time of the big mega car, the old car with the big motor and the air conditioning, and cruise down the road in comfort.
Well, here's another interview with you at some point in the future in terms of the cars that we wish we kept or had any idea. I mean, I talked to a gentleman yesterday over at the Bel Air here in Daytona, which is kind of like a counterculture group. They meet there and then come over here.
Yep.
And he had a 4-door Plymouth wagon. Very cool car. But who would have known that was going to be a collector car?
Oh, you didn't realize things like DeSoto's would be $100,000 automobiles.
Yeah.
If we had known, we'd have kept them all.
Yeah, my neighbor had a huge 59 pink and black
Mm-hmm.
DeSoto. Yeah.
When I met my wife, she had a 57 DeSoto that was black and pink.
Wow.
Ugliest car on the planet.
Imagine right now. Imagine what that would get at
Yeah.
one of the auctions. All right. So in '74, you had 45 cars. Now looking back, clearly you're the face of this whole process. I know that there's a whole lot of other things going on with your relationship with Daytona, but the Speedway is a relatively recent
It is.
experience
It
in
is.
terms of your experiences. But taking a look back, what surprises you the most in the last 44
What
years?
surprises me the most is how it's grown into an event instead of just an antique car show or just a hot rod event. Now people come out here for all kinds of reasons. It's just a big community, family-oriented event. That's what surprises me the most. We have a lot of people that just come out just to be with other people and see all the things out here. Not to mention buy some neat car or to see a lot of cars you wish you would have kept when you were younger.
That's right. Well, in that, it also I guess there's something related to the whole event aspect. What do you think about the aspect of the event explosion, but more than that, the numbers of car shows and cruise-ins in the last 10 or 15 years have just...
Well, the only thing that distresses me about it is it seems to be an older person's hobby now. Not a lot of young kids getting into it. Hemmings had that take a kid to a car show thing a few years ago, and I hope it's successful. But in our car club that helps put this show on, we have a lot of gray heads, and I kind of wish that we had younger people. There doesn't seem to be a lot of interest. One reason is, of course, the cars are so expensive. If a kid out there now out of high school tries to buy a hot rod or tries to buy a collector car, he can go out and buy a new Toyota cheaper than he can buy a Model A coupe. So it's a little distressing. But aside from that, the hobby's big. It's going to remain big for a while, and I feel pretty positive about it.
Well, you're absolutely right, and this is one of the notes I had in terms of asking you some questions, because did you have a vision when you started this?
No, I didn't have a vision that far ahead. The vision that I had was to have an event almost like to say, well, there's a lot of us out there that have modified cars. There's a lot of hot rods, there's a lot of collector cars. Let's have an event that allows them in. And the strange part about it was the following year, the first year, we had our hot dog cookout at the same location as the AACA had their prime rib dinner. We were in the ante room, needless to say. But years later...
They actually had a prime rib dinner.
Yeah, years later it kind of swapped. So
I was going to say that's changed a bit.
we had a good time. We moved across the street. The first one was at the Howard Johnson's and La Playa motels on Atlantic Avenue. And we were there 2 years, actually, before we moved across the street to the plaza, to Bel Air Plaza. They didn't want us. They didn't want a bunch of hoodlums hanging around their plaza. But when they saw the amount of people we were getting that were walking across the shop, they came to us and said, well, hey, why don't you come on across the street and join us? So we did, and we were there for a few years, and then moved on to the high school, which was adjacent to the plaza, where we had our first swap meet. So it was fun.
Well, the swap meets, I think, bring a lot of people, too. There's, some people who are, particularly the old guard, to get kind of bored. They want to come in and see what they can find.
Sure.
But so no vision, and this is what it's come to. It's incredible.
Well, I think we had vision a little later. We started a car club the following year.
Okay, so it wasn't a car club before.
No, it was just me.
Wow.
It was just me. The car club started the following year, and we saw how successful it was. I had some friends from the Antique Car Club help me the first year, And we did it well, or so we thought. And we had a rally, actually. It was like a scavenger hunt almost, where you would go drive around the beachside and pick up things and come back, and the guy that got there first with the most correct things won. That happened for 2 years. That was part of the event.
Do you have any paperwork or pictures of this stuff?
I have one photograph, because I was the one doing it. I wasn't taking pictures. So someone sent me a photograph years ago of me standing in front of the rally line, sending I think a 49 Oldsmobile off in its rally, but very few pictures. The following year, when we did have the car club start up, we had two guys, Rick Fender and Olin Hopes. He and I, Rick and I and Olin, we literally pound the pavement looking for donations of door prizes and to get everything we could get done. And that year we had a live bluegrass band in the parking lot of Bel Air Plaza. And we had a motor that we raffled off.
Really?
So, yeah, we raffled off a big block Ford motor. And we made a few bucks, and we said, wow, we're self-sufficient now. We can do this forever. But we had no idea that it would work into something like this.
Actually, this is probably, an opportunity for me to give a plug to one of our sponsors. There's an organization up in Commerce, Georgia, that every spring and fall contributes to a raffle of a 350 small black crate engine. It's Goodmark Motors, and obviously a very popular event.
We'll take their motor. We'll raffle it off and give it to one of our charities, like the Shriners or Special Olympics. Yeah. Certainly, we've got plenty of charities, and we can always use another motor.
Well, I'll work on that.
Tell them that.
I'll work on that for you. Believe me, I've come up with a lot for Hot Rudders of Tomorrow, so maybe I can come up with another one.
Great.
They're still trying to find some roller 350s, but we may change to
we'll take
Corvette engines.
Mm-hmm.
That goes back to getting the kids involved at the Hot Rudders of Tomorrow.
Right.
You're familiar with it?
But yeah.
This would be a good spot for competition, actually.
It would be.
Yeah. So we can
There's
work
a lot
on
of
that.
kids in here that come in with their parents because 11 and under is free.
Yeah.
So a lot of wide eyes looking at these cars, and that's all it takes, It takes one kid looking at one car saying, wow, when I get to be 16, I want to drive that to high school instead of grandma's Prius. Yeah.
Well, for our audience who doesn't know what I mean by Hot Rudders of Tomorrow, I would, rather than use the time here, let's look up hotroddersoftomorrow.com, no spaces, and you're going to be amazed at what they're doing. It's a high school competition for scholarships.
Great.
To tech schools. But anyway, the car shows and events, the stuff is pretty demanding, and not a lot of them are as successful as what you've been able to accomplish. What's your secret of success with this?
We had good people. We had people that worked in our club that really, they just had, I think Rick had more of a vision than I did. I think he was the guy that actually pushed it from the parking lot show into the high school to start the swap meet. He and Olin wanted a swap meet. I could have cared less. Let him go up to the Ormond Beach swap meet. Mm-hmm. But no, they said, let's get a swap meet because we'll get a lot more people. I said, all right. And they were right. And after that, I think the three of us began to think alike, and it began to grow exponentially from that, for sure.
It's just phenomenal what's been accomplished.
It's been, a lot of it lately has been due to the assistance from the racing district here in Daytona, because they really have the experience to go out and get the community involved.
And they know how to run an event for sure.
Oh, they sure do. They sure do.
So you got the car show, you got the swap meet, you got the car corral.
Car corral. Very successful.
So what is your favorite part of it? What do you really look forward to?
The car show.
The car show.
The car show, sure. I always get in a golf cart and go out there one of the busiest times so I can see them all. and I see things that I haven't seen in a while, and it's usually the orphan cars. You ask about that. The orphan cars are something that I really enjoy. The things that we never thought would be hot. The cars that you would be caught dead in high school. If your parents had one, they'd let you off a block before school, before you got there. Now you go out and you look at those and you say, wow, is that cool or what? It's got 3 colors. It's pink and black and beige.
My best friend and I would go to McDonald's in his father's '64 Falcon wagon that we used to deliver his groceries from mother and son's grocery. And we were always like, turns out that, God, I would love to have that car today.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
So, okay, going back to that, what's your favorite car now? If you were going to have the anything you wanted right now, what would it be?
Oh, you might not like the answer.
Oh, come on.
The new Tesla. The new Tesla
wow.
P100. Yeah, certainly.
Well,
Certainly.
I test drove one.
I've had a lot of cars, and that's, that would be the thing.
I test drove one almost
With
a year ago.
ludicrous mode, of course.
Yeah. Wow, ludicrous it's a G-force.
Oh, it is. It's amazing.
It's more G-force than taking off in a jet plane.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
It's an amazing vehicle.
We're talking now about next year allowing all 100% electric cars, regardless of year in, and put them in their own location. I had a guy last night come up to me at registration, and he had a P100, and he can't come in because he doesn't conform to our requirements. We have foreign exotics.
How's that for a throwback?
It is, yeah. And here I'm telling this guy with a new P100, I'm sorry, I'm the villain. You can't come in because you don't conform to our specs. And I'm apologizing to him, and I still apologize to him. But I did say that we're going to fix that. Next year, 100% electric cars will be allowed in, even the old GM EVs that you see around periodically that weren't crushed. Any of those cars can come back, and we're going to let them in next year.
I think that's a good idea. Well, we touched on a little bit on this earlier, and then we can wrap up. We were talking about the aging of the hobby and the industry, yet you see things, particularly at SEMA, that just seem more vital. And a lot of young people are coming in as entrepreneurs who are seeing not only the excitement in the hobby, but the money in the hobby. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember the numbers, but the aftermarket business alone, it's just blown up.
If you look at Velocity Channel, some of the shows that they have on there, they're mostly younger people, and that's a really positive thing. The things that they're building, the quality of what they're building is so good. The downside of that is that the kids can't afford it.
And yet we could take a look at somehow if we could welcome, maybe I'm using this interview wrong in the sense of using it from my advocacy. I think we need to start taking a look at the tuner cars and these little Hondas and as hot rods.
And we tried that a few years ago. We invited the tuner cars, and it wasn't very successful, unfortunately.
They just don't want to seem to participate.
No organization. No, they don't want to participate. There is no organization. Think about it. There is no national organization at all. Whereas in hot roddom, there are numerous. But think about tuner cars. There are Nopi years ago used to be the one.
Until he passed away.
Nopi's gone.
Yeah.
So that was the only envelope back
And
then.
actually, Nopi started out as a VW project.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Well, I'll take that back to some of my kids that I'm talking about because I hadn't really thought of that. That's pretty brilliant. We need to start thinking if they want to get more organized and be part of the culture because
We
they
can
really
bring
are
them
hot
out
rods.
here, put them in their own location, let them do what they want to do. But we see a lot of them come out and park in the parking lot and come in and walk around. But we'd love to have them join us.
A lot of the companies that, the young companies, young entrepreneurs are struggling because of the cost of getting quality engineers with these engines. But we have one company in Georgia that's making 600 horsepower Hondas.
Yeah.
And they kick the butt out of a 911 unless it's a GT3.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
just amazing. Of course, they're all garage built or what you call boutique garage built.
Mhm. Yeah, I would have loved to have let the guy with the Tesla in last night, but there's a lot of our constituents that would be very mad at me for doing that because they don't know what it is. They think it's a Toyota or something. They look at it and it's in my opinion, it's not a very attractive car, but boy, does it go fast.
The sedan's got some appeal. The SUV is a little weird.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
The doors.
but the sedan I tested, it was a quality car. I'd put it in the quality of a Bentley.
Yeah, nice car.
Yeah, probably the same price tag too.
And they just released the new Roadster the other day.
Really?
That's going to be the world's fastest production car, bar none. 2019 or 20, it's supposed to be released.
Well, I'm already hooked with the idea of the top coming off.
Yeah. Very true.
Yes, that's my favorite stuff. Well, lastly, just for your point of view, what's the future for the turkey run?
Well, we hope to continue as we are. We hope to perhaps broaden a little bit as we talked about bringing in perhaps some tuner cars and certainly the electric cars. You see more and more 50s and 60s cars now than you did 10 years ago, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
We hope to continue on, and with the idea being it's an event. People come from all over just to see the cars, to walk through the car corral and see what's for sale and ooh and ah at them. So we look forward to it continuing.
Well, we see some real diehards showing up. A little bit of a rainy day and Thanksgiving when other family demands, and they're still showing up
Oh, sure.
from just about every state in the country. And we followed a Model A 31 into today with a gentleman probably in his mid-70s and his young bride, and clearly been here before.
I have a friend who was from Iceland.
Wow.
And he has a group over there that he charters an Iceland aircraft for Turkey Run participants, and he flies in every year.
God bless them.
There are almost 200 people this year from Iceland, and they come every year. They are they are diehard fans. They come here, they buy cars, and they buy parts, and they ship them home.
So we're talking about a collection of largely American hot rods or collector cars in Iceland.
This year he bought a 30 Model 8 Coupe and also a 66 Caprice, and with big 24-inch wheels, and it's going back to Iceland.
Well, the Model A Coupe is a little too small for me, but I do a Tudor sedan real well. So, well, I can't thank you enough. The problem is we can never find anything to talk about, right?
Never. We could do this all day.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you.
And appreciate you taking some time out
No
for
problem
us.
at all. Glad to do it.
All right. And on Wiz Events TV, come back and check out Pam Hirschhorn's new videos. She'll probably be doing something from Carlisle and the New York Auto Show coming up. Thank you all.